up. Option missile. Option B. Option B. Twin missile. Option B. B up. Option C. Option C. Option C. Option C. B up. Lane option. Miss option. Hyper ready. Twin missile. Option C. Option C. Option C. Missile. Option C. Triple laser. Twin laser. Triple laser. Option laser. Option twin. Option E. Option E. Twin laser. Missile. Option E. Hyper ray. Twin missile. Option E. Option E. Option E. Option E. Shoot the head! Option E. Missile. Option E. missile. Fearless. Missile. Option C. Option C. Option D. Twin missile. Option D. Missile. Option twin missile. Option C. Force field. Abaddon. Missile. Shoot the core! Twin blade. Option C. Option D. Shoot the core. Option D. Lane. Option D. The body. Option B.
I'll take you to Elden.
missile. Up. Option B. Lift B up. Twin missile. Missile. Twin missile. Shoot the core. Triple laser. Buster missile. Twin laser. Spear laser. Option B. the core. Lazy. Optical lazy. Upwind lane. Option the body. Option.